Welcome to this week's blog with Excel Helps You on logical arguments. This is Nathan. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, you may notice that this looks a little bit different because this is the written version of the blog. This is at excelhelpsyou.blogspot.com, and this is a preview of this week's blog. So if you ever want to come over and take a look at this, you're welcome to. Let's go ahead and jump into Excel. Alright, so this week we are looking at how we talk to Excel in formulas and looking at logical arguments. So that is all of these different things here. These are the backbones of formulas. We're not going to be getting into functions this week. We'll get into them in future weeks. I will be doing a blog on formulas once a month on the second Monday of the month, and this is our first one. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. We've got different symbols here, and you'll notice here that at the top it says every cell equals a calculator. So in order to do a calculation in a cell, you just hit the equal sign, and then you can start typing your calculations. So you'll see here we've got 1 plus 2, you hit enter, equals 3. So you see how that is a static formula because it doesn't change until you go in and change the formula. And over here you see we've got a dynamic formula of C3 plus C4. So let me show you where that's looking. So these blue arrows here are showing you where the references are. So as we get into looking at using cell referencing in formulas, it's important for you to know what this is. This is the name box, and every cell by default is given a label, a reference, and the first digit of that is the letter of the column. So you see this is E, and then the number of the row, 4. So this cell that contains this formula is E4. Alright, and this formula shows here in the formula bar, and the formula bar can be expanded if you get into some lengthier formulas, which we're not going to talk about today. But we will get there, and you can do it. Don't be afraid. Alright, so that's what we're doing. I'm teaching you the language of formulas, and part of what we're doing with that is these symbols, which we'll get to in just a second. So we've covered static formulas. Now let's take a look at the dynamic. So as you're typing a formula, you can easily create a reference simply by clicking on the cell, and then you would want to enter your symbol that you want to calculate with, and then the other cell that you want to calculate it against, and then you can hit enter, which will move your box down, and that will calculate, and then it'll display the result. The formula is still there. And now if we go in and change this, you'll notice that the 1 plus 2 is here, and then C3 plus C4 is here. And our data here used to be 1. And so you see how this cell changed and this cell changed because of that. And even though this is way over here, it is still going from these cells. Okay. So now we can take a look at some of our other symbols. So we've got addition is the plus symbol, subtraction is the minus symbol, or just a straight dash. Multiplication is the star, and that is right above the 9 on the number pad and above the 8 on the numbers across the top of your keyboard. Division is a /, which is above the 8 on the number pad and just to the left of the shift, and also with question mark. And so what that'll do is it just divides. And so if that doesn't create a whole number, you get the fraction of it in decimals down here. And again, you can see that this is dynamic, so we can change this to 5/8, and you can see what the decimals are for that as that changes. And sometimes you do want a static formula. And so if you were entering something and you just wanted to do a quick calculation, instead of opening the calculator and putting 7 divided by 8 to get this and then typing it in, you wouldn't know where you got that. And so now when you click on this cell, you can see that it's 7/8. Especially with decimals, sometimes it's hard to tell. And so, but then with the dynamic one, it's a little harder to tell. You have to go find C9 and find C10. Now, if you double click on this to edit it, it does highlight the cells that you're referencing, and so it's a little easier to tell. So you see here that the blue box is C9 and the green box is C10, and so without too much difficulty you can see that it's 5/8, and then press enter to get out of the cell. Alright, so equals. This one may seem fairly obvious, but this is actually pretty powerful, because what we're doing is we're moving the results of this cell to here. And so we could have a formula in this cell and have the results paste. And so this one is referencing that. And so we could put equals 12 minus 3, and we'd still get 9. And that'll change that there. Let me go ahead and change that so you can see it update. So 9 minus 3 is 6. So that's another way to move stuff around, and we will use this much more when we get into using functions. Less than is the left caret, which is above the comma, and in these formulas it will either display true or false, which you'll see here on our greater than. The right caret, which is above period on your keyboard. 13 is not greater than 14, and so that is false. Again, really going to come in handy when we start playing with functions, because then you can tell Excel to do things based on these logical arguments. Alright, now if you wanted to say I want something, if it doesn't equal, and I want to know whether it equals it or not, you use the left caret and the right caret. And that means does not equal, and that's how Excel reads this symbol. Alright, less than or equal to. So these three functions, these three symbols use two symbols together in order to create what you need, because there's not the symbol easily on your keyboard, left caret equals, or less than or greater or equal to. And so this is how you tell Excel what you want it to do. And so it looks a little funny in the formulas, but once you know how to read it and how to type it, it's gonna really come in handy for allowing you to tell Excel what you want it to do. And finally, we've got exponents, and so that's the up caret, which is above the number 6 on your keyboard. And that simply takes it to the power of whatever you reference. And so here again we have a dynamic version and a static version. And so this, you can just find out what's 21 to the power of 3. And so again, great to have that reference there so you can see what's going on. The last cell in Excel, there are 1,048,576 rows and 16,384 columns and a ton of cells. Alright, you can contact me, check out the written version of the blog, email me, check out my shop, and next week we're going to be looking at the autofill options and the status bar. So thanks guys for watching. Go check out that stuff, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.